Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here for another Operation GCD Fridays. Slightly delayed, but here we are. Once again, your host, JJ Vance, host of Operation GCD, and perhaps more notably, folks, not the vice president. So, not gonna lie to you, folks, got a real barn burner here on deck for y'all tonight. Nazi Satanist Transpocalypse. We saw a little bit of that right there in the intro. My favorite mind-controlled, multi-state Transpocalypse assassin. And the fellow that wanted to be my PR rep, that guy wanted to be my PR rep, huh? And the fellow he murdered, well, he hired him as his PR rep. So, anyhow, won't belabor these points any further. Got fantastic guest on this evening, Dr. Inferno, not a doctor, technically speaking. Welcome back to Operation GCD. Thanks for joining me here to get a little GCD.
Absolutely. Not a doctor, but an Inferno specialist. And I say, let's scorch the earth.
Well, we need one of those here, sir. Like I said, barn burner inbound. You're a man with a lot of details regarding these Nazi Satanist movements of a neo-Satanist interwebs fashion, be it 09A 764. You've schooled me and learned me in a lot of these topics in our tenure of our dudeship. In fact, we are dudes offline, not just here on the interwebs. We've had a few adventures of an interesting variety.
Oh, yeah.
Largely around mound sites and the weird shit that happens in and around them. But we can get into that, some of that if you'd like tonight, sir. But I do appreciate you joining me here. And you do, if I'm not mistaken, are relaunching your podcast here of the Demento Mori podcast.
That's right. I'm going to probably be relaunching the Demento Mori podcast as soon as I get all the things ironed out completely. As you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this because I don't want my podcast to be slop. I want it to be actually finely tuned and polished, and maybe I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that, even though I have a lot of the same technical difficulties, unfortunately, that is afflicted with many other streaming communities and podcasts. But yeah, I'm definitely going to relaunch that. And again, that's about apocalypticism, parapolitics, and extremism, which we're going to be getting into talking about extremism tonight. As far as like that experience with the mound,
yes, sir,
in Serpent's Mound, that was life-changing. I have to say, that was a life-changing experience. It was a great experience.
Well, I've shared that journey here a couple times, I believe, and we'll go. I'd like to hear your recounting of it. We'll mash it together, my recounting, and figure out what the fuck happened. We had both eaten a good amount of mushrooms that day. I will.
Oh yeah, we were on that mushroom bar, definitely.
Got real GCD about life, didn't we? At Serpent Mound, what a wonderful place to do it.
And we stumbled upon some weird secret society place too.
Oh, you ain't kidding, sir. You ain't kidding. So if I may add a couple quick plugs for folks here.
Amish country. We got lost in Amish country too. What a strange place.
You ain't kidding, sir. You ain't kidding. So let me offer a couple quick plugs. We'll dive right in here into our discussion. Operation GCD Sundays, but it's going to be on Saturday because it was last Sunday's show. The 6 Degrees of the Serial Killer of Dogs. That's where I help. 6 Degrees is the game I like to play here at Operation GCD, folks. I like to help actor Kevin Bacon and his Make-A-Wish to find a new Patsy. Tomorrow night's Patsy, the Serial Killer of Dogs. It gets very processing very quickly, folks. Multi-generational processing. And then, of course, Operation GCD. What's that, sir?
Under the Silver Lake?
Well, I was actually going to bring that up. The Killer of Dogs. That is a film review I was going to invite you on to in the future. But I do see a lot of, obviously my Kill Bill sirens go off the first time I've seen that film, based upon Urine Recluse's recommendation, in fact. Yep. Fantastic film in a sick, demented processing way. But it has a lot of details, I think, that very telling. So, but here on Operation GCD Sundays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times, we'll be doing a free Patreon preview on this, the conspiracy theory and the Society of the Cincinnati, 1783 to 1790 specifically. This is a PhD thesis I'll be doing some comparing and contrasting from out of the University of Munich, entitled Conspiracy Theory and the Society of the Cincinnati, 1783 to 1790. So we'll probably get a little bit outside the 1790 range, but I will be going over those details further matters. Yes, so that'll be a real barn burner here. And hi, Tiffany Walsh. Hi, JJ. Yes, ma'am, I am high. Thank you. And thank you all for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD on these matters. Again, apologize for our delays. We were having a barn burner of a discussion over on the Operation GCD Thursdays, which was actually Thursdays on Fridays. Again, delayed a little bit there. But Dr. Inferno here was sharing with us some of these evolutions of these Nazi Satanist aspects that are plaguing our society, domestic terrorism style. And I'm very intrigued by your outlook on these matters, sir. And you do have a unique perspective because you actually more or less infiltrated some of these online forums that these folks recruit and operate out of.
No, I mean, I didn't want to highlight that portion, but it wasn't it wasn't a very hard feat.
Oh, yeah, did I let the cat out of the bag?
Yeah, I mean, but I'm going to say this: like anyone could have done it. Anyone could have infiltrated these places, into these places. And
I know a lot, sir. I know a lot of folks that can't find their way out of a wet paper bag.
Well, all you got to do is download Telegram and, well, voila, there they are. Follow the trail from Discord, where a lot of these, most people would have probably ran from this stuff and said, no. But I was like wondering what the hell is the origin point for a lot of these things? Why are there people spamming my Discord and my social media with stuff like Animal Crush, weirdo CP stuff? And like, this is the clear web. This is not something that I sought out for. This is like the clear web. And why are they spamming this stuff everywhere? And I'm like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. Is going on here?
You're good, sir. And all this stuff does try into transhumanism, all this transpocalypse stuff, including the process. Including the process's own theologian, one William Sims Bainbridge, transhumanist, member of the process since I believe 72. Out of the Boston chapter, if I'm not mistaken, and photographed with that Albany chapter we were discussing, sir, in the Operation GCD Thursdays this evening. That Albany chapter that we heard from Skinny Puppy's bassist, William Morrison, and the, I believe, number 2 in the Satanic Temple. He says the process never closed, and notably the Albany chapter, and we know that by photographic evidence. William Sims Bainbridge is photographed on his own Facebook group with the Albany chapter in 1979. Oh, I thought the process closed in 1974. Weird. But he's a Harvard-trained transhumanist transpocalypse scholar for the process and is a descendant from William Bainbridge, the Admiral William Bainbridge of the Society of the Cincinnati. I'm not saying William Sims Bainbridge is a member. I'm just saying, probably. What are your thoughts on some of that, sir?
Oh man, that's a lot to unpack there.
The transhumanism tying in with the Nazi Satanists there with the process.
Well, I would say a lot of it probably goes back to people like Peter Thiel and company, which secretly kind of flirt with the human biodiversity people and a lot of the, let's just say, social Darwinist types. And so there's a lot of intersection there. There's even a guy named Jason Reza Giorgiani that's rather interesting, that was part of Richard Spencer's camp that always is promoting transhumanism amongst people that try to present themselves as quasi-Nazis, but more sophisticated suit and tie Nazis. So the intersection between the transhumanism and sort of the, what you described is sort of the suit and tie Nazis, the above ground Nazis that try to present themselves as kind of academics. The HBD crowd, the people that feed into Peter Thiel and company, and who you're not a vice president of, people like Curtis Yarvin and those.
I'm not the vice president, sir. Are these the same folks responsible for trying to convince folks that Cincinnati is the San Diego of the Midwest? Are these the same people you're describing?
I think so. I mean, does Cincinnati have a naval base or like?
I have no idea what this campaign's about, dude. I saw someone wearing a T-shirt around town like that. I'm like, what is going on here? There's a big mural painted now. I'm like, what in Sam Houston, dude? This ain't no San Diego. I've been to San Diego, sir.
One thing I mean,
if you want to count the Mexican population of both towns, well, that might be comparative, but I've been to San Diego. It's no San Diego of the Midwest. You've been to Cincinnati. You love Milford.
Cincinnati.
That's mound-centric Milford town there.
I definitely love that place. Yeah, I saw your doppelganger there.
Right, dude.
And at
Dude,
McDonald's,
you were convinced that was me, and I'm like, I ain't me, dude. That
it
ain't me,
looked
dude.
just like you, man. No kidding. It
Ain't me,
looked just
dude.
like you. I'm not kidding either. It looked just like you. I mean, the likeliness was there and everything. But as
Well,
far as
here's the
yeah,
deal, bud. Here's the deal, bud. Milford's a strange place. A lot
oh,
of
it
weird
is
shit happens
indeed.
in and around mountains. That satanic case I told you I've been tracking since 2019, the rape and satanic ritual abuse and the altar in the home with the child porn being streamed. Well, that took place in Milford.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. There's been a lot of like weird Cincinnati like true crime murders. I imagine that's happened around that whole place. That always seems to be a coincidence. All the mound stuff seems to coincide with the UFO stuff and the true crime stuff. And there's just like lots of cryptids and stuff like that. It's just unusual. Like I was skeptical of this phenomenon, but I did some research and some studying. Man, people it's a lot of weird stuff happens around mounds. I think Somerset, Kentucky also kind of convinced me that strange things do happen, and they don't necessarily need like an impetus for this strange stuff to happen. There's maybe something in the water, in the earth. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So we see in that Somerset case and the Pennyroyal folks that you're referring to there in their podcast, they've uncovered a lot of strange stuff around mounds in that
Oh yeah.
podcast, notably the Typhonian offshoot of the OTO Thelemites doing
Oh
weird
yeah, the big
rituals.
cabal.
Yep. We also discovered a couple weeks back here on Operation GCD Fridays with Badgerland's Jeff. You may know him. Also a friend of the Farm podcast there with Recluse. He reached out to me, wanted to talk some mound stuff, and he brought to my brain hole in another instance of a different OTO order doing mound rituals up there in Wisconsin.
No kidding. Wow.
Don't you know? So we see a lot of that weird activity. We see a lot of it going around the mounds. We see the epicenter of operational activity for the Society of the Cincinnati, the folks who started America. That's their operational headquarters to this day, I argue. For example, relative to recent times, I have as I'm sure you've heard me, Doc, I've my general thesis of conspiracy culture is all roads lead back to the Society here in America.
Yeah. Okay.
We see that with Charlie Kirk, his fifth great grandfather, a Lieutenant Joseph Kirk of the Society of the Cincinnati chapter out of Virginia. His wife, France V, I'm sorry, is her surname. Her family's Swedish. Her grandfather, Franz V, was knighted by the King of Sweden, who is himself a member of the Society of the Cincinnati. That's weird. And she was born in Cincinnati. Just saying.
Interesting.
Weird times, sir. Weird times. We live in a Muppet world, sir.
Absolutely. I mean, this is definitely an insane asylum, LARPing as a country. And I like to say also that America is kind of a conspiracy LARPing as a country, a conspiracy theory LARPing as a nation, the very first of its origin.
You're not far off, sir. You're not far off. I don't disagree. And Cincinnati is a hotbed of murder, dude. Hotbed. It's also a hotbed of sex stuff, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's where we get the term hooker from.
Let's not forget Les Wexner is not very far, a hop, skip, and a jump, where he's like doing his little AI township, who Les Wexner often doesn't get named in a lot of the Epstein stuff. He's doing like he made a lot of money off the AI stuff too.
I went full-blown Wexner the other night, sir. Went full-blown Wexner the other night here on Operation GCD. That man runs, I assure you, that man runs Ohio.
I believe it. And I even think there could be possibly connections to stuff that was going on in Southern Ohio with a lot of the trafficking that was there.
Yeah, speaking of hookers, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've done some interesting research on those matters. So Hooker comes from General Joseph Hooker, member of the Society of Cincinnati, General of the Civil War.
I've done some personal research on that, maybe.
He had I want to give you the full background on hookers. He had a battalion of prostitutes that would travel with him in his army. They were known as the hookers. So that's where that comes from. He's buried today on a mound in Spring Grove Cemetery in Cincinnati. Hooker, that is. Now, hundreds of years later, they were in garrison technically in Covington, Kentucky, across the river. Hundreds of years later, in 1972, Jerry Springer, then city councilman dude, Jerry Springer, wrote a check to a hooker in Covington, Kentucky for some Japanese businessmen that were in town using a city check. Yeah, that happened. He got reelected, though. Don't worry about that.
So I actually want to touch upon something that's like very obscure, maybe not that obscure if you've been following the whole Nazi Satanist phenomenon.
Well, let's pause real quick as I got you deterred, sir. What were you saying about them hookers that you've been looking at related to Wexford, Chillicothe, and Portsmouth?
Oh yeah, that's true about the Chillicothe,
We can't.
which they
That's
tried to
mound
blame.
country, sir. That you're deep in mound country there, sir.
Oh yeah, that's also where James Mason is from as well. Everyone's favorite Nazi accelerationist.
It's also where the Chillicothe Federal Reformatory exists, where in 1952 Charles Manson and Edward Wynne Edwards met. In the 1953, Otis Toole showed up. Why are those three serial killers of this quote unquote kind of hand of death situation that Toole explains, right? Him and Lee Lucas explain, right? Why are they all together in the Chillicothe Reformatory?
And also Lucasville, of all places, too, is another place, another sus prison that exists in Southern Ohio.
But then 10 years after this, 10 years after Ed's there with those guys, a famous Nazi satanic serial killer who can't seem to die up there in Idaho, despite their attempts to kill him in execution style there in death row, Thomas Eugene Creech, was in the same reformatory, then went out to San Francisco, joined the Church of Satan, then went to Idaho and did the same shit in 1969 that Edward Wayne Edwards did in 1959. That is, married a 17-year-old in Idaho Falls, Idaho, then took her on a Bonnie and Clyde robbery and killing spree. And he did it 10 years after Ed and did it in the same place. And they both come from the same place. And they all fucking know each other.
Okay, you mentioned that. What's kind of interesting, Nazi Satanist comes up. Well, Richard Ramirez, not necessarily a candidate for being a Nazi Satanist per se.
Really? He's high on my list, sir.
Oh, really? He is? Okay.
Well, he got a personal meeting with Anton LaVey before he went on his murder spree.
Yeah.
And then daughter Zena and they championed him all through the court. Dude, they were in court cheering him on.
Oh yeah, that's like bizarre. Is like Nicholas Schreck is like at the forefront of this. I didn't mention him. Yeah, Barry Dobin, which I think, believe it or not, Boyd Rice, good old Boyd Rice, I think circulated the idea that he was Jewish or whatever. That's never really been proven, but good old Boyd Rice.
I don't want to speak without the knowledge, but I know Dana Dudall, Rotting Jules, has done a background on old Barry Dobin there. So
they found his.
He'll be coming on here October 31st, folks. The interwebs Fridays, October 31st. We're going full blown process.
Okay, spooky season. But yeah, I mean, Nicholas Schreck is kind of an interesting one. Him and Boyd Rice had that whole ceremony where they did the 88 ceremony with Farrell House. Adam Parfrey, he's another person that's of interest as well, who corresponded with James Mason and Michael Monahan. And hid a lot of his politics, believe it or not. A lot of people thought he was a leftist communist, but if you dig beneath the surface, he had a lot of really neo-Nazi stuff to say in his writings. And ironically also Jewish as well. Not that that's like a deterrent. Adam Parfrey.
Oh, dude, they're part of the same movement. That's great. So Farrell House is the unapproved or unofficial and possibly official neo-process publication house. I think they've done 23 process books and Nazi Satanist shit. Parfrey, I believe, son of a CIA guy. He's part of Schreck, Boyd Rice, and Michael Moynihan. They formed Team Charles Manson. I believe it was 1987. They all start befriending Manson. They go visit him in prison. They write. Nicholas Schreck carried a lock, probably still does, of Charlie's hair with him. It's in the Geraldo show. It's in the Geraldo show. He's proud of it. And I think
Boyd.
You know who carries a lock of a man's hair, sir? It's not a normal thing to do.
It's definitely not normal. That's for sure. Another interesting case is Boyd Rice. He visited Manson one time, and I think the metal detector went off. He forgot to get rid of the bullets that was in his, so like the prison guards actually thought that Charlie was trying to coax Boyd Rice into starting a prison riot or something. So there's like the whole weird stuff. And there's also that weird A. Wyatt Mann guy that's responsible for a lot of those anti-Semitic and racist cartoons that's everywhere. He's connected to the Church of Satan. It seems like Anton LaVey really liked his Nazi Satanist and primed.
Proud of it, dude. Loud and proud.
Proud of it. Yeah,
Loud and proud,
I mean, he
friend.
didn't
Loud and
disclose or
proud.
hide his leanings very much either. That's why I always wondered why people hadn't picked up on the vibe from LaVey and his engagement with all this other. LaVey, by the way, knew James Mason as well, the Nazi accelerationist. They all knew Michael Monahan, and
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
mentioned Richard
They all know each
Ramirez.
other, sir. Despite their claims that we don't know each
Absolutely.
other. We've never met. I don't know him.
Exactly. Boyd Rice denies knowing James Mason, but
Dude,
he
Boyd Rice
clearly
denies being a
knows.
Nazi, dude. You want to see the clip of it again? Him screaming Nazi
Well,
shit on
no,
Geraldo in
that's all right. I
'87?
know. I
I'll
will say
do it,
also
dude.
another person.
I'll
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. I believe you. I believe you. I believe you.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
They got Ted twice, folks. Watch out.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to emphasize too that yeah, Pharaoh House was kind of at the forefront of this weird countercultural. Another guy that he denies knowing, Boyd Rice denies knowing, is
Hey,
industrial
this is
industrial
my
sound
favorite
guy.
AI CIA Bill Colby ball washer bot. RR channel. I salute you for your dedications to being wrong, RR, but you were right this time. Upon occasion, me and RR agree. LaVey was Levi, and again, is Jewish mafia. We covered that in the Thursday series there, RR. You might want to catch up. I appreciate your time and service for being wrong all the time. But this time you're right. It happens upon occasion. I agree with you. Occasionally I do agree with RR, but even a Nazi Satanist clock is right twice a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but one of the other person they deny, Boyd Rice denies knowing, that's rather interesting, is a guy named Peter Sotos, a real life pedophile. Peter Sotos, are you acquainted with him? He's like, he knew all the Pharaoh House people. He was into industrial music just like Boyd Rice, and I don't hear him
Oh, you know, like that
admitting a whole lot.
transgender Genesis Bjork and Boyd Rice, they're the ones who started industrial rock.
Yeah, I
And they're
think
both
Sotos
process.
may have
Weird.
known. Yeah, I think Sotos may have known Peorage and a couple of those other people. But Sotos is an interesting.
Sir, they all know each other. They all know each other.
They all know each other, of course, without a doubt. But
So
let me
we were actually
wind.
just talking about Philip Arthur Thompson earlier this night, folks, and
Mhm.
Uncle Ted there. We will be bringing that up here later in tonight's discussion. Again, I don't want to deter you. I want to go into this Nazi Satanist Transpocalypse, obviously, but I also want to hear your thoughts on, like we're saying, the guy who never gets talked about in the conversation of Jeffrey Epstein. That is Leslie Wexner and his potential relations, because he had an attorney related to these matters, right?
Absolutely.
Of the Chillicothe Six, right? Isn't that what you were describing to me?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that the one of the person that was involved in the dirty lawyer that was involved in the whole trafficking is an Ohio State alum and a very high-ranking person in Portsmouth, Ohio, that seems to have this like network. And what's the coincidence that
Yeah,
guy?
and he was a big booster for Ohio State, sir, if I may, and so is Leslie
Exactly.
Wexner.
He was a member of the same club, and I think Leslie Wexner's wife is a big contributor to basically to Ohio State, and
Oh, they both
also
are, sir.
a big contributor.
The name's everywhere.
Big
The hospital, other buildings, it's everywhere. It's like the Mangione family in Baltimore, if you will.
So I think there's something there. It hasn't been like confirmed, but that guy is dead. So dead man can't tell any tales. But he was kind of up in age at the time. But there definitely was like this weird human trafficking, route that I believe the lady who did The Lost Women of Ohio. I can't think of her name right now, but I was in correspondence with her, and then eventually it got kind of spooky. The trail got kind of spooky, and she cut off like connection with me when I started asking questions about like the Wes Wexner connection there. And it was kind of sus what happened, but I think she was kind of scared herself. She tried to actually get a lot of information through the Freedom of Information Act about the connection between Epstein and Southern Ohio, Chillicothe, and Portsmouth, and all those other places. But the documentary was called The Lost Women of Ohio. And one of the researchers, she was definitely spooked by that and brought up a lot of this stuff with me and also like in other writings when she was talking about it. So it's definitely a trail that ran cold. I have tried my best to comb over that and try to find as much leads as I can, but it is always run dry. And I think Les Wexner.
So, what are some of the known knowns we know, though, here, sir? If I may, what are some of the known knowns? It was involving prostitution, heroin trafficking. Local law enforcement was corrupt. It's not all that dissimilar from the Long Island serial killer situation thus far. Dead prostitutes, corrupt law enforcement, drug trafficking, and sex trafficking. Seems to be a pattern.
And a serial killer too. There was a serial killer which was very much like Israel Keys. You mentioned
I didn't want to.
Serial killer.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to get too far into. No, I didn't want to.
Okay.
Are you in my brain hole, sir?
It might be tonight.
So this is the same serial killer that would get murked by a prostitute in, I believe, Wheeling, West Virginia.
No. She got murked, I think, in Charleston.
So he hired, he's a John. He hires a prostitute. He comes to her hotel room. He gets funky, and she steals his gun, if I'm not mistaken, and shoots him, right?
Does, yeah. And
in his trunk is a shovel, lye, so that, you can get the body to, deteriorate quicker there, right? And, it was a kill kit. He had a kill kit there, right? And this was the one that was involved in a lot of these prostitution murking in Appalachia.
And what's also like interesting about the whole entire place is I investigated further, women have been disappearing from this place since the 70s. Since the 70s, they've been disappearing, and there's like this entire graveyard around not very far from, well, actually around Columbus in this area, where they have found people potentially connection to the Chillicothe murders. And I think in many cases, a lot of the local people, like the drug dealer, the dollar bill guy, some of the other people that were in the Lost, Neil Falls, in the Lost Women of Ohio documentary, I think a lot of them are taking the fall for somebody, because the dollar bill guy, he's locked up in prison and he's not speaking about what happened. And there was like one particular woman, she was killed like 3:00 at night, and her body was thrown off the bridge.
Isn't that always the case from John Wayne Gacy? Didn't you name the serial killer, sir? There's always circumstances where at least one of the victims does not comport with the timeline of events in which the guy could have done it.
Yeah, and I think that's like definitely the Chillicothe. I think it's the Chillicothe 6, or is it the Chillicothe 8? I believe.
No, you're right. Chillicothe 6. You're right, and they all had connections. They all had connections. That attorney that you were talking about that may or may not be connected to Wex.
Moran. His name was Moran. I now remember his
name. Moran. Moran.
Michael Moran.
Michael Moran. Let's call him Phil. Yeah. Let's call him Phil Moran.
Let's call him Phil Moran. Why not? But yeah, I think.
But you're describing a lot of corrupt activity, dude. And like I said, that we were just talking about Claremont County. That's about. There's a 1 county or 2 counties in between. I apologize. From Adams County, Brown County, and then you got Claremont from the Chillicothe there in Ross, I believe, right? And then you also have the matters of Edward Wayne Edwards did a lot of killing in this region. In fact, I believe he murked a Lover's Lane couple after he did a evangelical Christian seminar at a church in Chillicothe back in 1974. So a lot of serial killing in this region. A lot of folks not giving a shit, right?
They don't care. I mean, mostly it's probably because most of the victims are, prostitutes, sex workers. I don't think many people care about if they get killed or not, which is unfortunate. I mean, they're still human beings. People should care.
Well, that's a valid point, sir. But murder is murder. Murder is murder. I agree.
What people don't often realize is that a lot of serial killers, whether they're trained by intelligence agencies or they're organic, that's a good question. They often start with very vulnerable victims, and they work their way up to more harder targets, you could say. And this is kind of their pattern. And I would argue, what I'm very shocked is the transition and shift from serial killers into spree killers, which seems to happen somewhere around in the mid to late 90s to our present day. And this goes into a lot of what we were talking about with satanic, Nazis. And this seems to be their forefront. This seems to be their bread and butter.
Yeah.
And
no, these are programs, sir. These are programs for sure, dude. And let me just correct my statement here. It was nearby. It was between Hillsborough and Chillicothe was the murder. I forget the name of the small town, but Chillicothe and Hillsborough about 30 miles apart. And he gave this speech on it was 71. He gave this speech, and then the next day, Friday night, it was Thursday, Friday night, Lover's Lane murder, unsolved to this day. So, And these are programs. There are matters that are described by the behavioral analysis unit, and that there's a mode of operations for serial killers. Well, that's all bullshit mode of operations. But some of these guys do have a pattern of behavior and activities that can be established. But Edward Wayne Edwards, like all the rest of these fuckers, they all knew each other. They all worked together.
So how I'm going to tie this in, and by the way, the whole other case, it's not really related to what I'm going to discuss here, but how I'm going to tie this in is there was a particular forum, and it seems like always it's these forums nowadays that always link to spree killers, whether it's Kiwi Farms, whether it's like the Columbine Super RPG website, or it's Iron March. It always seems to be where the intersection between the school shooter, the the Satanist Nazi, they all seem to like link together. And there's always like some person on the thread that's pushing it further, trying to get these people to crash out.
Oh, you mean a Fed? I believe the term you're looking for there, sir, is a Fed.
Or military intelligence. I mean, it's not always Feds. It's probably military intelligence too, as well. So one of them is like called Iron March. Are you familiar with Iron March?
I am not. No.
Okay. Well, Iron March is where the infamous Atomwaffen assembled. That's where they all met each other there. They all discovered the love of James Mason's siege there. They all were like one happy family assembled there together, ready to take on the world, ready to take on Zog. So they all assembled there under this guy named Alexander Slavros. Now, what's interesting about this forum, and there is a link between Iron March and also Kiwi Farms, is there was this lovely lady by the name of Lindsay Savannarath, who was half Laotian, half Eastern European. She was obsessed with true crime. She was obsessed with Nazism. She was obsessed with Friedrich Nietzsche. And she was obsessed with H.P. Lovecraft. And this is kind of where the occultic sort of Nazi Satanists, they always tend to love H.P. Lovecraft and the whole Cthulhu mythos, for whatever that's. That and Warhammer seems to be their benchmark, how they model themselves. So she made friends on here, on Iron March. She creates this whole manifesto and this idealization around the Ubermensch can be achieved by becoming a school shooter. She idolizes the Columbine people. She creates something on Tumblr. Now, this is 2015. She creates something called the Columbiners. The Columbiners is this weird kind of hybristophiliac culture that exists online, to where they are sucking in, getting all these like Nazi Satanists in here, and getting also these other fangirls in here that love true crime, that also like love Dylan Roof, that love all these racial saints. They're mixing them all together and they're unleashing them out to the world. So large of that, which researchers get wrong, is Lindsay Savannarath was the person who crafted that. Although it existed before her, she was the one that added the Nazi component to an already disturbing and sordid type of subculture.
I appreciate you're bringing this stuff to my brain hole, sir. You're a man with a lot of details. You're saying a lot of words and names that sound like real things, but like Ragnarok before, Redbeard Ragnarok. How you spelling this?
You mean Lindsay Savannarath?
Is this it?
There you go. The Halifax mass shooter. There we go. Yes.
The Halifax Howler, huh?
That's right.
So and this is something that, again, I just want to point out, this is 2015. So we're looking at, when we're pointing out these things, I'm going to put it in like kind of a cogent sight picture, because we're looking at matters that have the same parallels and activities and salient characteristics of hood rat shit. It's a very technical term, I understand. That goes across space and time and geography here, and that is a pattern of behavior that implicates or indicates, organized principles of connectivity of it's the logistics, sir. I'm often concerned about the logistics, and there's someone financing this shit. There's someone organizing this shit. This shit's not happening. It's not a grassroots campaign of terror.
Well, yeah, I want to say to the audience, I was actually on that. I don't want to be actually, one of those nerds, but
yeah, let's do that. What are you actually doing? Are you actually on this show right here?
I'm actually on this show, but Zach Salvatore, I was on that episode about Kiwi Farms, Chris Chan, and Randy Stair, which is a whole nother, not related to Nazi Satanists, but another invented, school shooter that actually probably did come from like Columbine, all Columbine Forum. This Columbine Forum.
Is this the Pearl school shooting, sir?
No, it's not the Pearl one. It's Randy
Well,
Stair.
we can get into some of that if you'd like, because that has some relative comparisons to the Nazi Satanist business, doesn't it?
You want to talk about the Pearl shooting? Oh man.
No, I don't want to. I'm just saying we could. If you wanted to.
I want to continue to talk about Lindsay Savannarath a little bit because I think she's important to all this. She, of course, her whole attempt gets foiled. She actually doesn't plan this out. She doesn't craft this out. She gets caught by the FBI, of course, while planning this all out. She ends up at the airport, and they bring her in for questioning, and they lock her up. Now, what is interesting about her is that she comes from a relatively middle-class background from a Chicago suburb, but she is obsessed with Friedrich Nietzsche. She's obsessed with school shooters. She's obsessed. She writes this manifesto, and there's this guy who's by the name of Jordan Bonaparte. That's his name. No relation to the conqueror.
Well, how do you know that, sir?
Maybe, I don't know. But he's got this.
Sir, if I may, did you know the Bonapartes, Charles Bonaparte, started the FBI? And when you say she got discovered by the FBI, sir, when you say that, I was thinking, well, what do you mean discovered? I mean, they knew where she was because they hired her?
Known to the FBI as the meat.
Yeah, because they hired her, dude. And then now you're telling me there's a Bonaparte involved? That's a society family, and they started the FBI.
It's in Canada, though. Same relation?
I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Still, dude, the French chapter of the Society of Cincinnati got banished from France from 1794 to 1925. Their epicenters of headquarters were Quebec and New Orleans.
Yeah. Okay.
But so what's this fellow's name? Jordan Bonaparte?
Jordan Bonaparte with Nighttime Radio. Now, what's important about him is she keeps her manifesto. And she basically says, if you want to read my manifesto, you got to go through this guy, Jordan Bonaparte. Now, this guy is a bit sus himself. He seems to be fascinated by female serial killers, and possibly he's trying to get him some. He's trying to get him some, being the safe, sleazy male that he probably is. He's trying to get a little bit of Lindsay Savannarath, trying to get some hybristophiliac tail. So he shares this manifesto, and basically you have to go through him. He's like a gatekeeper to Lindsay. So I often wonder, a lot of these fan people, a lot of these people that are really into true crime, how much are they also part of some kind of operation? That's something to consider for researchers, people that are really attracted to people like Richard Ramirez and all the rest of those people. But yeah, Lindsay Savannarath.
Well, no, that's a great point, sir. That's a great point. And I know you want to talk about some art galleries. If I may just provide you some exhibit to the point you just made. And again, it's the point I often make. Look at the source. Who is communicating these ideas? And I often say also process. Folks are going to process. Are you familiar with, so there's an epicenter of all this Satanism business and all this alien nonsense. We see that with Colonel John Alexander and all those aviary fuckers who say, back in the 90s, they're like, hey, there's aliens in Area 51. They love strawberry ice cream. Those same fuckers, like Hal Puthoff, the Scientologists, are all around, John Podesta and Tom DeLonge and gang today. It's the same. All these fuckers know each other. But there is a space fucker, Satanist fucker, coalescing going on there around Michael Aquino and John Alexander. But we also see there that the source of these things, why are they perpetrating these things, right? Why are they perpetrating all of these matters? And we see one of the major figures today perpetrating all this alien nonsense, ancient alien cargo cults. I don't know if you heard it before. I've heard it in the song, sir. They haunt the pale moon beams. So we see this guy, Jeremy Corbell, right? Jeremy Corbell's at the forefront of all this alien nonsense today, right? Do you know what Jeremy Corbell used to do before he was doing alien nonsense?
What did he do?
He was a quote-unquote contemporary artist, and he dedicated that art largely to Sharon Tate. Strangely enough. Let me show you one of his weird Sharon Tate art exhibits. There we go. So this is where he started his career. He literally, dude, he just took pictures of Sharon Tate and would drip paint on it. There's one right there.
Abstract art, Jason. What is
yeah, it's extremely abstract, dude. If you want to call this art, dude. Let's just take a moment to watch this preposterous nature of this. Yeah, Jackson Pollock. If Jackson Pollock was retarded. Yeah, if he was retarded, this would be Jackson Pollock. That's what I'm saying. So you're saying these things. It makes a lot of sense to me, dude. We got the art world, the alien fuckers, and the process fuckers.
Yeah,
right here.
I definitely.
Yeah, it's creepy. I'll put a link in the show notes for folks check that out. But it's no surprise that this guy's at the forefront of these things, right?
Now, let me pivot a little bit. I'll put a bookmark in Lindsay Samanarath, but she's important. Another person that is like kind of interesting that enters the orbit, Brandon Russell, who is an Atomoffin founder on Iron March, is a guy named Walter Bond, who I don't often see a lot of talk about. He's a guy who latched onto National Socialism, aka Satanic Nazism, and attached the O9A to it. If it wasn't always, dreadful. But this guy, Walter Bond, okay, he also had a previous life where he was an animal rights activist, the ALF. That sounds pretty familiar, right? With the Animal Liberation Front.
They always do animal shit because humanity's the devil, they say, right?
Yeah, that's. I think Peter Singer believes that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of they all recite that. It is one of the common principles, and it is a core principle of the Process Church of the Final Judgment.
So,
you know who else worked in the animal industry for 14 years? You want to know who else worked in the animal industry? I just found out this week, sir. Strangely enough, the head of Charlie Kirk Security at Turning Point USA, before he was doing that, he worked for 14 years as an executive in the animal diagnostic testing industry. And the best friends folks down there in Kanab, Utah, the process. They recommend to all their clinics using that diagnostic testing and software that this dude was the head trainer of. So process folks are going to process.
That's interesting. So going back to Walter Bond, what's interesting about him is he was introduced to Brandon Russell in prison, in federal prison, either in Terre Haute or one of the federal prisons they were in. Now, get this. You'll like this. He shared a cell with Aldrich Ames. Aldrich Ames was involved in what?
Yeah, the CIA spy, right?
And performance art.
Interesting.
Yes. So, Walter Bond.
How are you spelling this guy's name? Walter Bond?
Walter Bond. You probably won't find him. He's a very obscure figure.
I can't.
That's actually not his real name. He's actually of Puerto Rican ancestry, but he LARPs as a white supremacist.
He's a Puerto Rican supremacist, is he? Huh?
Yeah, he is. I mean, that's kind of like the benchmark for a lot of the Nazi Satanists.
He's out of prison, bro.
He is out of prison, bro. Yes.
Be on the lookout. Stay vigilant for lasers and this guy.
Yeah.
So, I apologize. I got you distracted, sir.
Oh, no, I was like kind of wrapping it up. But what I was trying to say is that while in jail, I guess he develops this kind of esoteric Nazism that's attached to Savitri Devi, vegetarianism because he is a vegan, and of course because he's an animal rights activist. Now, what's interesting also about this guy is in his youth, he lived in Denver, Colorado. He was a member of something called the Church of the Creator, which he lied about. You can maybe even say he was doing a little insight role there, infiltrating radical environmental quote-unquote extremist and animal activist. So he did a little insight role, you could say, where he flipped totally to where he puts the NS09A together. Now, what's interesting is once Walter Bond gets released from prison, he doesn't sever contact with Brandon Russell. And him being, of course, an ex-convict burning down a pelt factory, they're supposed to sever connections with each other. But he doesn't. They They actually communicate with one another, and Brandon Russell, which now is scrubbed off the internet, is wearing an ALF shirt. And Brandon Russell later gets entangled back into another FBI sting operation where he tries to destroy power stations, something that's not original to American, Nazi Satanists, but also is like seen in the Years of Lead, where there was some crazy leftist millionaire who knew Che Guevara tried to blow up pylons, electrical pylons. So they're really obsessed with blowing out the power grid. A lot of the Nazi Satanists.
Well, you got to get the kids. You got to get the kids, and you got to get the infrastructure. This is the work of those communists or whatever anti-liberty bastards you want to call them. But so you're saying Denver, Colorado, and I see these things on the left or the right. They're utilized by the same folks, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, to orchestrate domestic terror. We had a recent event as almost similar to what you're describing. We had a fellow who would claim to be a Black Panther, and he tried to murk the Colorado Attorney General back in 2021. And it appears to all be orchestrated by the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
So what's interesting about this is that Brandon Russell, a lot of like his comrades claim that he was not a quote unquote a Satanist, but clearly, if you look at his screen name, which was Homunculi, it is reference to alchemy. He also had he also had a girlfriend who went by the name of Sarah Clint Daniels, who also was paying close devotion to Nagarath, which is a dark goddess of the O9A fame, which also borrows heavily from H.P. Lovecraft, which ties in Lindsay Savannarath, who was obsessed.
Well, it ties into those OTO rituals on mounds. Those were the Typhonian folks, were the ones who loved that shit.
Absolutely. So Lindsay Savannarath was also obsessed with a similar deity, but not exactly the same. Shigara Nigarath is the name of her name, which is a mother goddess, which she fashioned herself as being a mother goddess, basically fashioning what she thought was the Ubermensch, which was school shooters.
Let me get caught up on a couple of these details. I've been pulling up some stuff here, reading some stuff as you're going, sir. I appreciate where your brain holes at on these matters. You have a lot of details, sir. I respect a man with a lot of details who uses his brain for God's intended purposes and not for an oversized paperweight, which is what most.
That's really questionable.
Well, no, I assure you, sir. Most folks use it for an oversized paperweight. So this guy, this Muppet, this Nazi Satanist Muppet, he mashed together O9A and Odinism. What's going on here? And Adamolfen?
Well,
he did a lot of shit.
His name was Odin on the Iron March forum, so there's no doubt he was also acquainted probably with Odinism. All Nazi kind of just neo-Nazis in general are obsessed with Norse mythology and
sir,
probably go ahead.
If I may, as I point out in our previous discussion here tonight on Thursdays, that is the intended purpose stated by LaVey and Aquino, is to have folks argue about semantics and not their actual activities. So we know that's kind of baked into these processes. We're no pun intended, but we also know some of the other known knowns there are regarding these matters is they like to say someone like, oh, Satanists. I've caught this. Ed Sanders have noted this in his files. Maury Terry noted this specifically relative to the cult in Fargo, North Dakota, where they would call themselves Odinists one day of the week and Satanists the other.
That sounds about right. I mean, but it's so intertwined with the whole entire, I would say, neo-Nazi culture, to where it's like, pick one. Which one do you want to be? Do you want to be a Christian identist? Do you want to be a Odinist? Do you want to be an O9A adherent? Although a lot of their fellow travelers don't really like the O9A stuff as much, but it's sort of commonplace that these things are interchangeable. I just want to briefly, since I'm going really fast here, I want to briefly go and talk about, after we're finished with this, let me know if you want me to move on from Brandon Russell.
You're doing great shit, man. This is the Nazi Satanist Transpocalypse we're talking about, because name a shooter, sir. Name a shooter in recent years that doesn't prescribe to these fucking ideals.
Okay. And I actually do agree with Uncle Ted. He has a point there about as dreadful as the Triple K mafia is. It's true. A lot of the FBI does agitate a lot of these hillbillies that do and go a lot of violent activities during the civil rights movement. That's like one of the more neglected areas.
Well, sir, everyone's shocked there was 270 some odd Federal Bureau of Investigation agents at the worst day since Pearl Harbor, 9/11, January 6th. That nonsense. But here's the deal: there's probably way more than that. First and foremost, that is their business. That's what they do. And again, there always reminds me of the man who was Thursday. This is an undercover agent for Scotland Yard, London Metropolitan Police Department, who goes undercover to fight the anarchists underground in London. Then finds out that the anarchist underground is being run by a committee of 7 folks. They all have a day of the week they're assigned as their code name. He's Thursday. 5 of the other 6 folks on that board are all undercover agents from other intelligence spook operations of the UK. So it's always the same case. This is 1920, dude. Why is the same shit popping off today? I'm sorry, this is 1908, bud.
Well, it's the same playbook over and over again. And I would say this also. A lot of people think Gladio folded after like the 90s when it was discovered in, I think, in Italy. No, I think it didn't fold. It just became PatCon. It just kind of, even though like the CIA is not allowed to interfere on domestic grounds, they had their little sneak arounds like the JTFF and the Joint Task Force and a lot of these other people. The CIA infiltrated all these local.
Now you're talking my language, sir. No one talks about the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and that's where all of this tomfoolery, all of this hood rat shit is coordinated out of through the National Security Council. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at it.
I believe it. I mean, I learned that actually from reading Wendy Painting's Aberrations of the Heartland of the Real. That really was like one of the biggest takeaways that she hammered in like some of the early chapters on McVeigh. And I'm like, damn, that sounds so familiar. It sounds like this thing is playing over again, over and over and over again. And by the way, this is also a connector. Brandon Russell has pictures with people like Dennis Mahon. Dennis Mahon connects to your boy, Israel Keys. Follow the dots there. Dennis Mahon is like the linchpin in all of these like cases over and over and over again. Dennis Mahon shows up and stays in the picture. Elohim City.
Well, we're going to bring up Dennis Mahon, sir, and David White because it gets spooky with both characters. But let's actually emphasize this point of view, man, that you just made, and that is this guy. So what we mean by these left and the right aspects of this manufactured terrorism and Operation Gladio style Colby's queers. There you go, RR. Bill Colby's even terrorizing us in his death, sir, and you stand for these matters. So this guy right here, Thomas Fuentes, former associate director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, is actually quoted. It's saying that when he's making the budget, which was his job, this is back in 2004, he says this, when he's making the budget for a law enforcement and intelligence operation or unintelligent operation, he's not going to say we solved crime. He's going to say we didn't. He's going to say he lives by the standard, keep fear alive. Keep it alive. And here we go with that.
Submitting budget proposals for a law enforcement agency, for intelligence agency, you're not going to submit the proposal that we won the war on terror and everything's great, because the first thing's going to happen is your budget's going to be cut in half. You know, it's my opposite of Jesse Jackson's keep hope alive. This is keep fear alive. Keep it alive.
That is the guy that made the budget for the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And thus we can understand why they're keeping this alive. Keep fear alive. From every angle, left and right.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what's unfolding on our streets. So is there anywhere you want me to go from like the Dennis Mahon thing and the Brandon Russell? Because is there anything any bases you want me to cover with that?
Yeah, well, let's do the Elohim City Aryan Nations business here while we're at it, if you may. For example, right here.
I do have some more contemporary stuff if you want to get into it.
Let's do that chronologically, sir. Let's do it chronologically.
Okay. Sure.
So here we have old Brandon Russell, Adam Wolfenfucker, Nazi Satan fucker. He gets arrested, and this is 2017. And then some shit happens where they're like, oh, wait a second. This is, you're doing some shit like McVeigh was doing.
Fan of McVeigh, by the way. Brandon Russell, that is. You had a picture of him right over his explosive devices.
Yep. Well, it's almost like I took that as like a Catcher in the Rye type of situation. They're using that picture of McVeigh to weaponize future domestic terrorists, right? Future Nazi
I knew that
Satanist
without the
terrorists.
wiki, by the way. I knew that without the wiki.
I don't doubt it, sir. I'm just highlighting it for the folks of the interwebs and their
I got you.
Their purviews. I'm not, sir. Have I once questioned your activities in and around these matters?
No. I'm just saying some of the.
You've brought a lot of these details to my brain hole, including this one. You know, these again.
No,
I've only recently. It's because of you, dude. I've been only you and Recluse got me on this track of that Aryan Nations compound about 2 years ago.
Cool. I'm glad.
Well, it was Israel Keys. It's real easy. It was Israel Keys. I did a show last Sundays.
There's a lot of connectors there. A lot of unsuspected.
He knew McVeigh and Kehoe's, dude.
Oh yeah, Kehoe definitely plays into it. And Mahon.
The informants, if I may, the informants of that compound over the years have said they do 10-year anniversary domestic terror campaigns. You can map that again. Take their statements, use it, and comport. Does it comport with their words? And do the statements and words and actions comport? Well, yeah, they do. We see that, and these fuckers all know each other. Israel Keys was part of the Mid-Aughts campaign. I watched him Operation Gladio style fundamentally alter the way folks operate and live. Now they live in fear, keep fear alive in the state of Vermont. And here's the deal. The state of Vermont says that couple that the Federal Bureau of Investigations claim that Israel Keys murked, that caused that terror campaign. Well, the state police say they're not murdered. So what the fuck, dude? So the FBI, FBI says murdered. State police says not murdered, never been declared dead, even though he was, it's one of his, those are two of his 3 confirmed kills. I'm not saying he didn't kill a lot more. I'm saying what we know about him is bullshit. Here's the other deal. I've now confirmed he does still own that property in New York. No, I don't have any answers of how he does that, but.
By the way, I want to say, here's another interesting Aryan Nation connect, which is probably
hold on.
Now.
Let's if you may, sir, let's ruminate on the fact. This is something I discussed on my Sunday show on Keys. Because I discovered it in my deep dive there in preparation for that show. Because it's in the FBI documents. They raided this place. I mean, well, how the fuck does he still own it? How the fuck does a dead man pay active taxes on a fucking property that he bought in 1997? This is at a time, again, hold on, let's also focus on this. This is at a time he didn't have any credentials. He had no birth certificate or social security card until 1998 when he joined the United States Army. How do you join the Army without a fucking birth certificate? I have no idea. Here's the other deal. The Federal Bureau of Investigations has stamped all things Israel Keys matters of, wait for it, national security. I don't know that he's dead, bud.
I mean, a lot of people fake their death, man.
Well, here we go. Franklin County again. I contacted the fucking registrar's office in Franklin County, New York, here to confirm that what I'm reading in my brain hole on their website is indeed this is the only thing I confirmed. I said, "Is this the accurate record you have on paper file?" They said, "Yes." I'm like, "All right," because I'm not going to ask him I'm not going to ask them how the fuck Israel Keys owns this property, but Israel Keys of Anchorage, Alaska, that is his former business address for his construction company. Hey, John Wayne Gacy owned a construction company. I'm just saying. And we see him that 511 Poplar Street, Constable, New York. He owned this in active, taxable. And they said he's up to date on his taxes. So you tell me, bud.
That's good.
But it was these Israel Keys matters that led me in around that Aryan Nations compound, sir. And I do salute you for putting that on my brain hole.
Oh no, I salute you for hipping me up on the mound stuff and really importance to the founders and the Society of Cincinnati.
Dude, I will go full blown mound on you, sir. Dude, I will go full blown mound on you right now.
Yeah, but I wanted to mention also the Aryan Nations is interesting because it also connects another favorite, a Nazi Satanist that's still active. No other than Joshua Caleb Sutter, everybody's favorite online Nazi that nobody seems to talk about except for.
He's just your friendly household Nazi, sir. He's just your friendly household Nazi.
I mean, he's a household name by now in certain communities, I guess.
Well, who is Joshua Sutter? Why don't you tell us who that is?
Who is Joshua Caleb Sutter? So many people have spilled ink and written substacks about him. So basically, he's the son of a I would say evangelical, pro-South minister that somehow gets his fascination with Nazism in his youth, somewhere around in the 90s. He is an elder millennial after all. And he decides, after, let's just say, he comes into prominence as the liaison for the internet, for message boards of the Aryan Nation. This is where he meets none other than our other favorite Nazi Satanist, David Myatt. Come on down.
Hey, David Myatt, come on down. I got him up here right now,
Come
actually.
on down. Yeah, David. Oh, that's him. David Myatt, our another favorite Nazi. Well, I don't know if this is in the wiki.
Well, let's hold on, sir. That's not fair. He's an Islamic, Christian, Satanist, Nazi extremist. Right?
Absolutely. The Islam and Nazism seems to go together in some capacity too.
Dude, like peanut butter and jelly.
I'm not throwing shade.
Well, they're both government operations, dude. It's like peanut butter and jelly.
I wouldn't say completely, but I would say, in terms of Islam, I would say definitely ISIS. And
Dude,
extremists.
Dude,
We're gonna disagree about that.
Find me an Islamic terror situation here in America, sir. That was not orchestrated by the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
I don't want to get it.
I'll tell you right now. I'll give you 9 of those examples using one Pakistani billionaire. This is a true story. Who was the owner of that limo company in the Schoharie bus crash, where they just changed the laws about how folks operate limousines in that state of New York. Just saying. And the crash site happened on a mound site where Hillary Clinton held a campaign stop hosted by a coven of witches. Hey, man, we live in a Muppet world.
But in terms of like Giorgiani, I think Giorgiani deep inside in his inner being is still kind of a Nazi or a fascist. He won't admit that. And this is not throwing shade on him. But yeah, I think he probably is, to be quite honest with you. I think Giorgiani probably still is a Nazi.
So what's David Myatt is we said the other guy mashed together Adam Wolf in an 09A, so this is the 09A angle, right?
Look where he grew up. Pay close attention to where he grew up.
Well, I see that, but Tanzania?
Yeah, I mean that's a spook spot for British colonials.
Of course, dude. They always come.
East
hey, just like Tracy Twyman and Laser Tag Ted's buddy Victor E. Schoof, aka Fritz Springmeier.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
Stay vigilant, folks. They got Ted twice, but his buddy Fritz Springmeier, he bombed 2 buildings. Almost murdered some folks, shot at a bunch of them, just like the Kehoe brothers, just like Israel Keys. He robbed some banks, shot at people, murdered folks. These all fuckers know each other. They're connected to that Aryan Nations compound. But what I'm saying is, Victory Schoof, son of a CIA guy who got an appointment to West Point by Bob Dole. These fuckers, it's always the same pattern, dude. There's a frequent guest here I have, a fellow West Virginian here, sir, Landon from the Daily Dissident, frequent guest and sometimes guest co-host. Sharp dude. He's of the Zoomer population, I suppose, right? What's when Zoomer's cut off? Is he a millennial?
1997.
What am I?
I think you're an elder millennial.
Well, you say that. I feel like I'm an X, so I was born in 80.
I know. Yeah. It's kind of a cusp, right? 80. You born in 80?
I'm obviously being facetious. We spent over 3 hours one time just blasted disputing whether or not we got real GCD about life on some some liquors and some pots. Yeah, we disputed the time frames in which these generations occur. That was a hilarious conversation.
There's no consensus about
there's never a consensus.
The cutoff is no.
But Lane is a 25-year-old, and I respect a man of that age using his brain hole for God's intended purposes. Because at 25, dude, I was waging, I was in a lot of combat at the age of 25. I wasn't doing it. My brain hole wasn't in these departments. I'll tell you that much. So, I respect that. But he always says, and I think he's accurately citing this, and it's why I play the game. Who is your daddy and what does he do here on Operation GCD? Because their daddy's never an electrician. It's never a plumber. That's what Landon always says. It's never a plumber, never electrician. I'm like, yeah, dude, just a good point. And all with these characters, these Nazi Satanists, it's always spooks. Victory
wanna also
Schoof,
bring up-
David Myatt. My apologies.
I
Spook
want to
shit.
bring up another guy. I'm kind of jumping
Bring him
all
up,
over the
dude.
place. I apologize,
Bring him
guy.
up.
But
Bring
you
him
remember
up.
the Aryan Republican Army? The guy who headed the Aryan Republican Army now is, of course, he has, I think in prison, he's become a female. And his father was a CIA agent in Vietnam. And he has
Typical.
direct connections to Kehoe.
Oh, he's a Colby queer.
Yeah.
So,
That-
well, that's interesting, sir.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Well,
back.
that's interesting. So
I
again,
never
we're seeing
lost
that same pattern of behaviors, right?
Yeah.
You
Same
didn't
trend.
lose me? Oh, or my apologies.
No, I didn't lose you. I mean, I
Well,
think there's some lag or
well-
delay or something.
Yeah, hold that thought, please.
Am I a drug dealer? No, I am not. Thank you for asking, though.
No, okay, that's okay. Thanks.
Is there anything else I can help you with? Perhaps you'd like an 11-year-old prostitute sent to your room. We can do that. Or maybe we can off someone for you. Huh? How's that sound? I've got it. Why don't we start small? Would you like a fresh towel? Maybe you could roll that up and smoke it.
Welcome back, sir. You were saying?
What I was saying is, that the ARA guy is kind of an interesting case. He ties to McVeigh, he ties to Kehoe, and he ties to many of these other people, and was actively engaged in Elohim City along with Strassmere and the rest of these people. I think your audience mentioned Strassmere. Good old Strassmere.
Oh, Andreas Strassmeyer, dude, the son of the chief of staff for German intelligence and very likely CIA.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it's kind of interesting, all these people, where they end up.
What's his name? Give me a name. Give me a name, sir. Give me a name.
I don't have his name off the top of my head now. I knew this guy.
In that case,
just type in.
please,
the Aryan Republican Army.
Please stand by.
You tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
It's my favorite game here in Operation GCD Fridays, sir. Who is your daddy and what does he do? And I call that one Bill and Ted's Murderous Adventure.
His last name is Langan. Of course, they're now using his non-binary name, Donna Langan, which
Well, you don't want. First of all, how dare you dead name him? And secondly, sir, what are your thoughts? Bill and Ted's Murderous Adventure.
Explain. What do you mean?
Well, hold on, sir.
Yeah,
it's my favorite. Again, it's my favorite.
No.
Can you see the screen, sir?
I can see the screen. Yes.
Okay. Well, it's my favorite game here, Operation GCD Fridays. Who is your daddy and what does he do?
You tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
Interesting.
This is our channel, the AI CIA bot, Bill Colby Ballwasher's favorite version of this game. This one I call Bill and Ted's Murderous Adventure. Now, Dad, I think, murdered a lot more folks than son, but wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be fancy, sir, here in Muppet World, that the man that brought the Phoenix program home, as Dave McGowan asserts in Program to Kill, the Satanic Serial Killers, Satanic Murder Inc., there with Michael Aquino as his point man on setting up these cells and operations there. Oh, same thing he did for Colby and Viet fucking Nam. Weird. But wouldn't that be strange, though, if his biological son was one of the most prolific satanic Nazi serial killer fuckers?
Absolutely.
They bear a striking resemblance, do they not?
They do. Except for the unibrow.
Well, I think that's the shadow. I don't think that's an actual unibrow.
That's not actually. It looks like unibrow.
Ted is 18 years old. Bill is 22, I believe it is, 21. So that's relatively the same age. And now when Bill leaves this picture in Norway, part of Operation Project Paperclip, Operation Overcast. Importing all them fucking, speaking of Nazis, importing all them Nazis here. When he leaves that, he goes and enlists in Columbia Law School. This is December of 1946. And disregard, I believe, November of 1945. That's when he enrolls in Columbia Law. November of 1946, young Theodore Bundy is born. Ted Theodore Bundy's. Now, he would be later be an esquire like his dad. He would go to law school, and it would also provide context of his monumental rise to the Republican politics in America. He was one of the leaders of the 1968 presidential campaign of Nelson Rockefeller. A lot to be said about that. But he also would be the driver and assistant for the first black man to run for gubernatorial candidate in the state of Washington. He didn't win, but he did get appointed after that when he lost to 5 Republican administrations as a top-ranking bureaucrat. So that is the level of connectivity he had in politics, not just John Wayne Gacy and the Carter side on the Democratic side. This is the Republican side. So it's, there's no different as far as their fucking hood rat shit, in my opinion, but it would provide context to that. And would you believe that Ted Theodore Bundy's born in November of 46 in Burlington, Vermont, my bootleg home, and he's born in the unwed mother's home. No one knows who his father was. Well, I'll tell you, I'll give you a good suggestion. This Muppet fucker right here, Bill Colby. There you go, RR channel, Muppet fucker Bill Colby. And, his parents, Bill graduates high school from Burlington, Vermont, and his father was a retired U.S. Army colonel who had taken the job in 1941 as the ROTC commander at the University of Vermont there in Burlington. So all I'm saying is, Bill came back from war. He met Ted's mother when he's visiting his folks up there on one of those trips from New York City to Burlington, straight shot, about 6.5 hours. Done it many times. And knocked her up, and that is in fact Bill. So I can put them, circumstantially speaking, in the same place at the same time. All I'm saying is these fuckers look a lot alike. And it would provide a lot of context to old Ted Theodore Bundy's life.
I was laughing because somebody said Ted Bundy's mother was a 304.
I'm way behind on comments, dude. I appreciate you checking on that.
Oh, you know what a 304 is, right, JJ?
Well, sir, back to that whole millennial Gen X discussions. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, it's when you turn the calculator upside down and it's a
we had abacus. We didn't have a calculator when I was in school.
I'm just saying, though, it's like when you turn it upside down, it says "oh."
No, I hear you. My son gives me shit all the time because he's got that Zoomer talk.
I'll tell you, your Uncle Ted is lit. He's a lit commenter, I have to say.
Oh, I always, we have a fun time here on Friday, sir. I hope you join us again. I know you've joined here on Operation GCD before. Yeah. This is your first Friday's appearance, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, yeah. I mean, I was here when it wasn't as lit. It seems like it's gotten litter now.
Well, here we go, sir. Yeah, I believe you were on Wednesday. It's a little bit more tame in the week, I suppose, in the film reviews. But I'm going to go ahead and say you must be speaking of the other JJ, because occultist I am not. Former Mormon, mothership Mormon, 22 years. In that regard, I suppose I am a former ceremonial magician in that regard, but they don't like to talk about it. They're not very open about the magical aliens there.
Am I going to get in trouble if I think Joseph Smith was a magical occultist that was using Enochian magic to find treasure?
Welcome to Operation GCD, sir. We've been discussing that precise point with Heidi Love on numerous episodes. In fact, next Friday's, folks of the interwebs, if you want to hear about that Enochian magic and treasure findings of Joseph Smith and the
I really
occultism.
loved you guys' Mormon Mafia breakdown. That shit was awesome.
Well, speaking of other JJs and Heidi Love, we're going to have an XMO General Convention of the Mormons. XMO is here next Friday night on Fridays. So Jacob J, host of Rise to Liberty. That dude's always out there trying to out JJ me. I will have none of it, but I do I respect the fact that he uses his brain hole for God's intended purposes. He does have a lot of details, much like yourself, sir, regarding items such as Satanism. He's a former member of the Church of Satan as well.
I just want to say I like Mormons. I just want to say I like Mormons.
I like Mormons as well, sir. Yes. I'm not bad-mouthing Mormons when I talk about the bullshit of the mothership. In fact, yeah, you're damn right, ma'am. No one out JJ's JJ. And we're all, as I told Jacob J, all of our JJs, we're all unique in our own JJ ways. But that'll be next Friday. We do talk about a lot of the occultism, dude. So let me bring you up to speed, sir. So one thing, Heidi and I, we mashed some of our ex-Mormon. Heidi's a distant cousin of mine. I think that's all that dissimilar from most Mormon folk, but nonetheless, we see here that the Mormon folk are a offshoot of the Society of Cincinnati. That happened.
Okay.
Your next question is probably how, or maybe not.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell folks to tune in more for that. But we see this connectivity of modern day occultism, Joseph Smith, Marvel, Jack Parsons, right? So I'm going to take it just on a more meta analysis of this occultism, not just the Mormon business. So
let's go.
So and the society business. So we see Joseph Smith's grandfather, Captain Smith, Society of Cincinnati, Massachusetts chapter. That man's father planned the Boston Tea Party. That happened. And then that man's father was one of the accusers at the Salem witch trials. That man's father, Smith. So we see Bill Colby, that ball bag, that fucking Muppet. He, his forefather, second great grandfather, Captain William Colby, must be a family name of dickbags, Massachusetts chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. That's strange. I did not so much occultism, although I think all those spooks are occultism, and occultism is spook stuff. As I often say, Scientology and the CIA are same, except for this one thing. One of them is an unintelligent agency purveying themselves as a cult. The other one's a cult purveying themselves as an unintelligence agency. Y'all can figure out which one's which. Sometimes I'm not sure. Anyhow, but my point being is we see Marvel Jack Parsons, another major occult figure like Joseph Smith in American history.
Also alleged
his third great
Israel as well.
Allegedly.
Maybe not touch that.
Allegations, sir. Allegations. Objection.
Okay. All right.
I'm just like how as you were saying before. Well, again, thank you. As you were saying before, relative to Twyman, are you in my brain hole, sir? As you were saying before, relative to Twyman, there's a lot of ins and outs and a couple what have you. So, but nonetheless, Parsons' third great grandfather, Captain Joseph Parsons, Massachusetts chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. That man's grandmother, Mary Bliss Parsons, a witch in the Salem witch trials. So why do we see these major occult figures, their lineage through the society onto the Salem witch trials? And don't get me started on Tuesday Weld, whom the Church of Satan's Bible is dedicated to, because she's, quote unquote, LaVey's comments, not mine, part of the rituals.
You know another person that's connected to the Salem witch trials, believe it or not, or the Salem witch hunts. You know another person that is. That's none other.
I have a growing list. I have a growing list right now, but please,
Lizzie
Borden. There you go. Nope. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a small pocket of this Massachusetts activity that includes the Bush. The Bushes are cousins with the Bordens. They're also, the Bushes are actually Hinckleys. So is Obama. He's the Dunham, and the Dunhams are Hinkleys. John Lothrop is a Muppet who actually is one of my forefathers, but he's a Muppet who would spawn a lot of other Muppets.
And Pynchon's relatives also are.
I think Pynchon's
in some capacity.
I think Pynchon's a Lothrop descendant.
Yes, I think he is. That's why he calls himself, and that's why one of the main characters in Gravity's Rainbow is Tyrone Lothrop.
There you go, sir. So let's take a quick gander. Besides myself and Howdy Love, who else is descended from John the Muppet, John Lothrop? He's one of the first folks in America for the English. He's an Anglican. Fuck, get a new name. Clergyman who became a Congregationalist minister in New England. He was among the first settlers of Barnstable, Massachusetts in 1639. So that's John Lothrop. He's waged an innumerable amount of influence through his fucking semen, and his semen, on America today, right? So a lot of these Muppets came over he married, his wife came over in the Mayflower. Again, technically speaking, I'm speaking ill of my kinfolk. I do descend from this Muppet. But we see Presidents of the United States, Millard Fillmore, James Garfield, useless S. Grant. He is useless. FDR, the two Georges, Benedict Arnold, Society of Cincinnati member in turncoat. Go figure. He's part of that anti-liberty movement along with Aaron Burr. They were good buds. Anyhow, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Joseph Smith, Hiram Smith, Wilfred Woodruff, Oliver Cowdery. So, you know, those carrier people that Israel Keys, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigations, murked in Vermont. And according to Vermont State Police, those folks are still missing. Homeboy's a Cowdery. His mother was a fucking Cowdery. There's some deep Mormon stuff going on there, bud.
You mean to tell me they mark people's houses and don't ever go there again? You're barred from heaven.
Dude, I'm just saying, dude, when we look at some of these matters of these hits of these Nazi, satanic, transpocalypse serial killers, look, dude, why did I get targeted by Buffalo Jared Revisa, mind controlled? Literally, dude, do you know the full scope of the details of Buffalo Jared? I know we've talked about him, but
no, not really. Go ahead.
Oh,
but I want to say before you go into that, you mean to tell me that Mormon missionaries, they have a certain meaning to marking your house? That's what I've heard.
That sounds like some conspiracy theory, sir.
It might.
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me hard.
That's Buffalo Jared Revisa, mind-controlled, hypnotic, mind-controlled, multi-state murder spree he went on there back last May 2024. The guy, dude, that guy wanted to be my PR rep. The fella he murked to start that murder spree was someone who hired him as his PR rep. Just saying. I cut off ties after he set off red flags immediately on this PR rep business. His story didn't check out. Some fake websites were involved. I don't know if he made them, but nonetheless, I felt like he wanted to stab me a bunch and wear my skin as a human coat. Turns out I was probably pretty accurate on that assessment. He went full-blown Buffalo Jared on us later. He now calls himself Jared Jones. That motherfucker's trying to out JJ me, and I will certainly have none of that. He allegedly sits today, and I do stress allegedly. His court cases are not public. Folks can check that out. Operation GCD Sundays, Volume 2, here on Operation GCD, The Legend of Buffalo Jared Revisa. That was filmed. That Instagram clip there, I added the Buffalo Bill Clerks 2, audio, but that video was filmed just in the same swampy area where they found Obama's chef drowned in that pool of water. That's funny. There on Martha's Vineyard. So his family, the Revisa sports, hypnosis, and psychology family, are famously known across Major League Baseball specifically for breaking the curse of the GOAT. That is the 96-year-long curse that apparently prohibited the Chicago Cubs from winning the World Series. And then they hired Ken Revisa and his sports psychologist company, whom Buffalo Jared at the time worked for, and so did Buffalo Jared's father. He's a real creepster as well. So anyhow, he sits in the same place where they let Nathaniel Bar-Jonah out to go, diddle and murder and eat a bunch more kids in Montana, and also serve me human meat burger, Nathaniel Bar-Jonah, that kid diddling cannibalistic psychopathic serial killer, whom I came face to face with in 2001 in the Cascade County Jail, pure evil, and whom may or may not have served me human meat burger at the local Hardee's in Great Falls in 2000. So Buffalo Jared's at the same place. His court records are not public. He's at the same place that let that Muppet out. And I think, there's a lot to be said about that he may or may not be in there. You know what I mean? But isn't that strange?
That's a damn fine burger. That's a damn fine burger.
Isn't that crazy? That's Looney Tunes. Dude, we live in a Muppet world, dude.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
But I'm saying, why did I get targeted by that Muppet? You know what I mean? Why do some of these folks get targeted? Like Sharon Tate, her father, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Tate, U.S. Army Intelligence. His second great-grandfather, Lieutenant Jesse Tate, the Virginia chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. That 8.5-month boy, almost born boy, newborn almost, in Sharon Tate's belly that died that night on August 9th of 1969 at the hands of the Manson family. My cousin Chuck. We're both Maynard McCoys from Pikeville. Why did they get targeted? Is it a bloodline hit on Paul Tate?
Possibly.
I'll do you one better, sir. Are you familiar with the August, or disregard, September 27th, 1969 attack of the quote-unquote Zodiac killer at Lake Berryessa?
Oh yeah, I am. Yes.
Brian Hartnell survived that attack, sir. And Brian Hartnell, 2 years prior to that, his maternal grandfather, Walker, his mother's Walker, he didn't have any sons. He was the second great-grandson of a Colonel Benjamin Walker, a personal friend of George Washington and the aide-de-camp to Washington's aide-de-camp. And he died he died in 1967, so it seems that 17-year-old or 18-year-old Brian would have likely inherited that membership, a very prominent role in the New York chapter. If you take that assumption based upon the prominent role his forefather had, Colonel Benjamin Walker. But what I'm saying is his grandfather had no sons. Hartnell was the only paternal descendant from his grandfather. This goes through the daughters from time to time in those circumstances, numerous examples of such. But my point being is, was that a hit on a Society of Cincinnati member? Just saying.
Possibly. You mentioned the Zodiac, and here's like an interesting kind of tie, not direct tie, of course, to the Nazi Satanists online. But you remember there was a particular Nazi Satanist that was named Angel Alameda, aka Gore Butcher, that was tied to the 764 people. You can pretty much Google his name. I think people have done write-ups on him. Well, what's interesting now, I'm going somewhere with this. What's interesting is that
I'm on this journey, sir.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, you're going somewhere. I'm following you on this journey, and so is John Lothrop's descendant and Nazi Satanist serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer.
Okay. So what happened here is that there is a contemporary internet Satanist. Believe it or not, they do exist. Internet Satanist cult. They are morons. They are dumb. Not really dangerous per se, but being led around on the string by good old Joshua Caleb Sutter. They had this Instagram group, okay? They had this Instagram group where the guy, Gore Butcher, aka Angel Alameda, bought this ritual that was soaked in blood commiserating the Zodiac killer. And I'm willing to bet if you were to follow that blood on that picture, you would probably find someone within Satanic Front. Probably not Sutter's blood, but someone like Anton Blenzeg, aka Commandant Cultus, who ran the Instagram site, and probably also Satanize. I like to call him Minibus because he is definitely special needs.
Well, here's the deal, bud. If we're talking about patterns of behavior, modus of operations within these Nazi satanic serial killers, Muppet Mikey and Bill Colby's Phoenix program, Come Home, Satanic Murder Inc., Edward Wayne Edwards, a prominent figure in that department. I assert he's the general in that Hand of Death cult that his pal Henry Lee Lucas, disregard Otis Toole and his pal Henry Lee Lucas were allegedly part of. I argue Ed's the top. There's a statistical decrease in homicides during the 13 not consecutive years, the 13 years that Edward Wayne Edwards spends in prison as an adult. There's a marked decrease. So there's something to be said about that. And again, he all knows all these fuckers. But what I'm saying there is Ed would frame folks by planting evidence, including blood and fingerprints.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying that they definitely do exist. Satanic Front does exist. And they're pulling, let's just say, psyops online that only few people are paying attention to. And they're LARPing now as some kind of weird private military contracting group, which I believe was a trademark of good old Michael Aquino and Thomas Schoenberger, two people that are rather interesting and tie into this whole milieu. But one of the PMCs they're LARPing at is a defunct group called Castle International. You Google Castle International.
Yeah, if I may, sir, I bring that up. Who is the other Muppet you talked about from Mount Shasta?
What do you mean Mount Shasta? Explain.
Isn't the
William
fellow
Dudley Pelly? William Dudley Pelly,
no, right? Sir. The name you just told me about, isn't he part of the I Am cult?
No, I don't. That's Ballard. That's Ballard. I'm talking about some Satanic Front.
Say that name again.
I'm talking about Ballard. You're talking about Ballard.
No. Give me a name. Give me a name.
I think
the name you just said.
Ballard.
Thomas Sheridan. That name you just said.
Thomas Sheridan. No, I didn't say Thomas. No, I didn't say that.
Who'd
What?
you say? Name a name.
No, I said Joshua Caleb Sutter.
No, you said something after that.
Oh, Anton Blinzeg.
No. No, Thomas Sheridan is not. No, I'm getting him conflated with somebody else. You just said a name that is associated with the QAnon movement, the I Am cult.
Aquino? You talking about Aquino?
No. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna have to rewind myself here, sir.
Michael Flynn? I mean,
no, now you're just guessing other names. You said a name besides Sutter.
Oh, Thomas Schoenberger.
There we go. I said Sheridan. I got conflated. Thomas Schoenberger. He's an I Am cultist out of that Mount Shasta Ancient Alien Cargo cult movement. He's big into QAnon stuff. To continue on our conversation from earlier, QAnon's part of the new panic. Folks didn't realize it. We're in satanic panic. This is our 45th year, but that these things, that's a good point. I appreciate you remembering the name I forgot as well there. So, but that's a good point about Schoenberger. Man, and General Flynn and his prayers of his theosophical prayers in the evangelical Christian movement are not lost on me when he's out there reciting theosophy.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's important. It's important to note, like I've pointed out previously, is that the occult and the arts and even low, operations like what Sutter is pulling off and whoever else is behind Castle International are pulling off as some kind of psyop online. It's important to note that occultists like art, and they even if it is bad performance art, even if it's the equivalent, let's say, of kayfabe in a WWF type of ring, they don't really care. They just like pulling off these types of operations to play out their ritual or whatever. And Joshua Caleb Sutter's instance is he likes to LARP as a CIA. I like to call him Dollar Tree James Jesus Angleton, Dime Store Angleton. And,
we got the Temu, the Chinese Temu version of Angleton now.
He is the Temu version of Angleton.
You mean to tell me that this guy is the Temu version of Danny Castellero's childhood neighbor? Did you know Danny Castellero grew up next to James Jesus Angleton?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know, sir, that Danny Castellero's father was the head of one of the companies, a biomedical company, making some of those night vision goggles that were listed in the Iran-Contra scandal?
Okay.
I think Danny Castellero was investigating his fucking dad, who was friends with James Jesus Angleton, their fucking neighbor there in, just outside of CIA headquarters there, and Falls Church. And on top of that, would you believe that Danny Castellero's sister dies of an alleged drug overdose in the Haight-Ashbury at the same time Michael Ricana Shudos hanging out with the Process, Anton LaVey, Muppet Mikey, Charles Manson and family? They all fucking know each other.
Oh, it's Castle International. That's the name of the PMC they're LARPing as, and it's ongoing.
What'd you call me, sir?
You pulled it up. You had it up. It's Castle International.
I know.
PMC.
I'm being ridiculous.
I know. Castle International. This is a bit contemporary. I'm going a bit contemporary here, kind of drifting from Sutter, but there is some relevancy, and hopefully, I'll cover this on my podcast, or maybe JJ will invite me back on and we'll get into this Castle International business. But I think it is pertinent.
I'm intrigued, sir. I've never heard of this. So they're a UK company based out of Scottsdale?
It's fake. It's disbanded. It's like a total LARP. That's what I'm saying, is that these people like to LARP online as you see, look at all that. It's like a bunch of edgy Nazi Satanists that are LARPing as a PMC and fooling a lot of researchers.
At no point did I think they were dev group, but I mean, No,
they're fooling a lot of researchers. There's a guy who goes by the moniker of Preacher on Twitter, and this guy swears up and down this is not some Fed operation. His avatar says CIA, so they're playing a little game with
tough sell, buddy. Tough sell.
Yeah,
that's like telling me this.
That's
like telling me this art gallery, the Victorian Art Gallery, that was founded by where did that go? Technical. I'm obviously having some technical difficulties, as in I can't operate my own computer system here. And on that note, please stand by.
Phil, if you're gonna spew into this.
Easy come, easy go, will you let me go?
We're back. We made it. Are you there?
I'm there, yeah. I'm here.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you
All
now.
right, so
Loud and clear.
well, it's the same thing you're describing here is make me believe that this Victorian art gallery, right? Art gallery, overtly process art gallery. That's their logo, right? They started their own process, ancient alien cargo cult theology. Alan was a disembodied spirit, and the year was 6041, I believe it was. Different years. So that's started by this Muppet, JJ Bryan. I don't think he's dead. I think he started a Scientology cult in Oregon recently. Different story altogether. But before he did that, he got caught doing spook stuff over in fucking Libya, posing as an art student.
Oh, really?
And yeah, dude, he worked for he interned at the American Turkish Council.
It's always the art schools.
Yeah, dude, and before that he was the assistant to this Muppet, U.S. Air Force General, former National Security Advisor to 2 U.S. presidents, and the right-hand man to and a Mormon from Kanab, Utah. That's fucking strange, right? Home of the process, and he was the right-hand man to this Muppet, Henry Kissinger, friend of cocaine Bob Evans. Lord of mercy, I don't want to know what they were doing in or around this picture, but they were good friends. They're BFFs.
Peter Sellers with a guy with no shirt on. Use your imagination.
Yeah, Mr. Process, cocaine Bob himself. So we see the process spanning decades around these national security elements, right? Around the same Muppets, the same art gallery operations, and Hollywood. So, we can start seeing a lot of these patterns, but you mentioned these other art galleries I was unfamiliar with, so that's interesting.
Interesting.
Muppets are everywhere, so we live in a Muppet world.
Absolutely.
So, what are your thoughts on where did I deter you from in my nonsense? What were we saying?
So basically, I was talking about contemporary kind of psyop operation that's going on Twitter now with certain researchers. So certain researchers like Draco Noctool, who is a real person, by the way.
It's not a real name.
It's hard to believe.
Can't be a real name, sir.
Person. No, it's a real person behind an avatar. They do exist. So his name is Brennan Jacob Walters. He's gotten the ear of a very prominent, let's just say 764 researcher. I'm not throwing any shade, but she doesn't know.
I'm pretty sure this is a Harry Potter character you're describing.
Oh yeah, but Draco Noctool. I mean, this is not on your slide. This is not going to be on your slide because this is kind of like, I guess, sort of information that I've parsed out myself. So anyway, he's all together, and these people do exist. You can just look up Anton Blinzeg, the left coast leftist, which I know a lot of people probably don't like to cite that article. Well, what's mysterious about Brennan Jacob Walters, aka Draco Noctool, Bartok Lycus, or the various other kind of shitty screen names that he goes by, is he had a friend named Anton Blinzeg, named Commandant Cultus, who are both like puppets. Let's just say Caleb, Joshua Caleb.
I believe you mean Muppets.
Well, okay. But I'm saying they're being directed, and they're not very good. Yeah, maybe you're right about that. They're not very good at pulling off the psyop. So
you know what I'm talking about. They're fucking. Yeah. They work for unintelligence agencies, and they're Muppets.
So what's interesting is Anton Blinzeg, around in January 2024, ends up dead in Indiana. In Indiana, of all places. Previously, he Brennan Jacob Walters.
What town?
I'm not sure what town, to be honest with you.
Give me a name. I need a name.
Anton Blinzeg. AntonBlinzeg. ANTONBLENZ.
No, I got the. Oh, he's a McKay, huh? He's a Scotsman.
There you go. That's him.
Tarrant County. I don't know where that is, bud.
I
I can
mean,
tell you
not
this
many
though.
people
I know there's a
probably
mound
do.
there. I know there's a mound
Oh,
complex
really?
there because
Oh,
because
really?
it's
That's
named after the
interesting.
county, Tarrant Mounds or something like that. Stand by. I'll get
Well,
back to
there's something definitely odd about Indiana.
you. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Have you ever seen the documentary series Erie, Indiana?
I've seen the show. Is that a documentary?
Well, it may as well be. I can't. Where? That's Texas. Is it? Was he born in? Where is
Oh,
this?
my bad. Yeah, it is Texas. My bad. I'm a little tired. It is Texas. My
I
bad.
was about to say there ain't no Tarrant County. There
But
is some.
I
There's some
looked at
mounds in
yeah, I
Indiana.
looked at
Name something to that effect.
there is a connection to Indiana. Actually, Draco Noctool is originally from around Indiana. He did a couple like vandalization of churches there. And of course, this guy's name is Brennan Jacob Walters, a totally real person in parentheses.
Totally not real person.
He is from there, and he met up with this guy, probably somewhere in Texas, and they did this like really weird bloodletting ritual, and the next day he's dead. So that's not.
Oh, dude, I have this on my list, dude. I have this on my list. I haven't gotten to it yet, man, because I've been working forward in some chronologies and getting some details and scaling things down. I know the case you're talking about, sir. This is very interesting.
He's dead. And what's even like odd, okay, and this Twitter account is deleted now, is he has a sister. He has a sister, and I screenshotted all this stuff. He has a sister that mysteriously, when he is brought up, who looks like totally an AI generated Twitter account named Babbly Bird.
Yes, I'm
with
listening.
an interview and everything. Yeah, her name is Babbly Bird and everything. She shows up out of nowhere when you mention Anton Blenzeg. And so does the screen name IA Nomad, which is allegedly Sutter and under a different moniker. And all these people are working in Tangent, Tangent, doing like this psychodrama type of occultic theater they're trying to pull off. So all this stuff is going on online, and just I can't figure out whether they're just doing spook operations or doing some kind of occulted kind of theater.
Did he ever live in New York City?
He did, yes. He's a son of a jazz musician.
Because he's a member at the Flushing, the Queens location of the YMCA, apparently.
Yeah.
He's a level 4 gymnast.
I have to say, these people would probably be pretty unremarkable if they were not connected to Sutter. Sutter is sort of the linchpin. And the 764 stuff, of course, that researchers have zeroed in on. And
yo, these are vampires, dude?
Vampires, yeah. They call them vampires. Vampires. That's the name.
I didn't get all the details. I was just making notations and lists. I make a lot of lists these days. Big list fan of all the confirmed. When I say confirmed, where they actually write down in the reports that they're not trying to obfuscate it, the satanic activity. I did not get to the vampire aspects of this case. This is fascinating, sir.
Well, they call themselves Noctulian, Drakians.
You can call yourself what you want. I'm gonna call you a vampire.
Okay.
They're a U.S.-based neo-Nazi group, Temple of Blood.
Yes, Temple of Blood. That's Joshua Caleb Sutter's spinoff of the 09A Nexion, which he had the blessings of Sutter to start. Myatt to start. He had the blessings of David Myatt to start that Nexion.
Following the April 2025 arrest of a Wisconsin teen for killing his parents and planning to assassinate Donald Trump, sounds like Boyd Rice and Michael Moynihan would approve. They've been investigated for numerous assassination threats to numerous presidents. More information was released about the local parasitic vampire wannabe Barker. Who's Barker?
That's Daniel Barker. He was a member of something called the NSK. Yeah, Daniel Barker.
No relation to Bob.
No relation. No.
Daniel Barker, a Satanist, white supremacist, heavy metal musician, and early TOB member, who also promoted the brand Temple of the Black Vampire.
Mhm.
He led the Canadian branch, huh? Fascinating, sir.
Did, yes.
Fascinating.
He did, yeah. And he wasn't the only person in Canada that was doing that. So, I mean, here's another interesting connection that you might be interested in. Gillian Hoy, which if you go down later in the article, it talks about Gillian Hoy. She always stays in the picture despite being remarried from Sutter, married to this Jewish gentleman, I should say, Israeli gentleman named Ben.
Impossible. Impossible,
Ben
sir. Satanist Nazis cannot be married to Jewish folk.
Sometimes they are.
Well, there was Jewish Nazis, dude. That's what folks don't understand that.
I know. They definitely are in the neo-Nazi movement. I mean, that's who Dan Burroughs was. You know. So his name is.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, Dan's in there. No, I'm just being bullshit. No, you just couldn't be part of the SS. You could be a fucking Nazi. They were happy to take Jewish folks as Nazis. There's numerous examples of that.
So his name is Ben Quo, and he has a connection to the rationalist. And guess who followed Gillian Hoy under her name of let's see, what was her name? It was something under sorrow or umber sorrow.
Are you telling me this is related, sir, to the Silicon Valley based AI focused rationalist,
you're right,
vegan, transpocalypse, homicidal death cult, the Zizians?
Her husband
interesting
used to correspond in the rationalist community and used to.
I'm not gonna lie to you, sir. None of this sounds very rationalist to me.
I guess not.
None of it sounds very rational at all. It all sounds very irrational.
I mean, that's the internet. That's the internet.
It is the inversion of these satanic Nazi bastards. Are all about inversion.
So her name was Ophelia Buckholt.
Oh, I know Ophelia Buckholt. Oh, yes. I know. I mean, I don't know her, but or him. It's him. It's actually it's a him. He's dead now.
Okay. And naming. But yeah, they're actually Ophelia Buckholt is actually connected to Gillian Hoy, who's connected to Joshua Caleb Sutter.
Well, sir, you just signed yourself up for a future Operation GCD show here, sir, because Zizzy and death cults.
Probably for a death certificate too. If those satanic gang stalkers don't get me.
Well, I think you're going to be okay, sir.
I hope so.
The thing I've learned about these Nazi Satan bastards is they're all dumb. They're real dumb.
Yeah, they are.
Their ability to concoct a plan is only superseded by their inability to actually execute that plan.
Oh yeah, so. It's definitely like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, over and over, playing over and over.
We live in them up. We live in them up at World, sir. And I do thank you for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD. We can bring this thing in for a landing here. I would like you to share with me your experience of the same place that I was at, but I want to hear your version of the incident that occurred in around the Serpent Mound adventures with myself, you, the good doctor, Recluse, and an unidentified other party, which we'll just call him Phil. His name was Phil, right? And his actual name?
He wrote a book. I mean, he wrote a book. I forget the name of the book, but he wrote one for Zero, I think, Hedge Publishing. He wrote a book for Zero Hedge.
Yeah, he's the finance. Oh, he's a great dude. No, I mean, I feel bad for not remembering his name, so let's just call him Phil because I don't know if he wants his name anyway. Attached to these tales of garbage can dudum because he, like you said, he is an established author. He's labeled in Whitney Webb's books as thank you because he does some of the financial investigations for some of that stuff. Solid dude, loves mound stuff. I mean, he joined us on a mound adventure.
Doesn't everybody?
Well, here's the deal.
He refrained from the from the refreshments. I think he refrained from the.
He did, and thank goodness, dude. We need someone to drive us.
Thank goodness. I mean, he drove us around. I mean, shit.
So we ate a bunch of fungus and got a little GCD about life. Went to Serpent Mound, had just some walking adventures. Took in the sights, right?
Yep, I would say it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And I don't want to sound like a complete stoner talking about this or a complete, drug addict. But I do enjoy occasional hallucinogens, partaking in them.
Well,
But anyway, let's just say all the foliage, all the greenery, it was breathing. I was communicating with it. I
yeah,
was
dude.
resonating with it, and I could just see the leaves sweat and breathe, and I could feel the energy of the mountain. Not to be a little woo woo there, but it was an awesome experience. And
Well,
I
do you
sweated,
recall sitting
I
out on the
sweat like a
bench
motherfucker.
taking in? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, I sweat like a motherfucker.
Well, it was a hot day. I was gonna say, wasn't this the day after the solstice?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
So this would
and I
have been
remember
circa June 23rd or so, 2023.
it felt like that way. I think it was midsummer. It was midsummer, and
Well, it was definitely in June.
it was midsummer, I believe.
So,
Which
but we
I
sat out
can
there at one
remember.
point on the bench, dude, watching all the locals. They had a tour
Yeah.
bus, remember? Like, wasn't a lot of
Yeah.
folks. There was like one tour bus though, and it
Yeah.
was a bit overcast that day too, a bit muggy.
And I
But we
remember even referencing that movie Midsummer and saying, "Man, it was like a lot like that hallucinogenic experience in that movie." I think
I'd never
that's
seen
probably
it,
one of the
so I
most.
don't understand the reference.
You should
Sorry, I
see it. You
apologize.
should definitely see it. But
Well, I'll look at it. But it was like, remember we were commenting on like all the people there were like, hey man, these people are just like, they don't understand, like they're walking on a vast amount of understanding of this
yeah,
universe and history.
That's what's so amazing about America is that America's now built up. We kind of have a shallow culture now. We're kind of alienated and disconnected from one another, socially, and I would say politically growing. And I want to emphasize that too, that the left and the right, unfortunately, is growing increasingly divided, and it's by a purpose too.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think in many regards, they're
Strategy
really
of tension, sir.
strategy
You were
of
correct.
tension. Yes. So this is what I think.
Speaking of strategy of tension, I think we got Phil there a little bit tense there because after we left our fun-filled experiences at Serpent Mound, we took a left, or maybe we zigged, we should have zagged. We ended up a few miles down the road here in good old Belfast, Ohio. Mind you, they now have a Dollar General. They didn't have it then. That's new. So we stopped by the Belfast Market. It's a fine establishment, if you will. There were nice folks in there. But when we were pulling into town, we saw the Knights of Pythias Lodge right about here.
Oh, don't forget also we stopped at that little corner store, and that corner store is like something out of a horror movie.
Well, hold on, sir. That I'm just trying to paint the picture. We pulled into town here. We see the Knights of Pythias Lodge, and that is this joint right here. And this is, in fact, an active lodge of the Knights of Pythias, right? You have a weird. This is almost. Was this taken the same day we were there? Can you see this?
I do see that. Yeah.
It says October 24, but I mean, I feel like that chair was out there too when we were there.
That chair was out there. I remember there were people sitting out there too.
Well, hold on. There was an old surly lady over here, an old Appalachian, very
old
surly
Appalachian
lady.
Yeah.
Sitting in probably that chair right there. And she was mean mugging us, if you recall. I said, howdy, ma'am. And she just replied with like a mean mug from hell. So then we wandered, we just took some photographs, right? We were just taking a couple of photographs, and then we walked down from the market store, which I'm taking us on a little Google route right there, just about 0.3 of a mile to the local market store right here, the Belfast Market. So we saw that coming into town. We said, we got to go take some pictures of that, right, fellas? And we park over here on this side of the market, and it's an old market for sure. And across the street looks like an old house you'd see out of Silence of the Lambs or some shit. Puts a lotion on its skin again. But small parking lot where this truck's parked is where we're parked. And we come out inside. The folks, those ladies inside were nice though, right?
Yeah, they were. I mean, I was stoned off my ass, so I can't really tell you.
Well, I recall. Well, then let me hit you with what I recall, and you can tell me what you recall. We walk out here. We're parked about where this truck is. When we go in, there's no one there, much like you see here. And we walk out about 10 minutes later after some nice conversations with the locals there, and two ladies working and whatnot. And there is a team of locals that have formed up and around our car with numerous vehicles.
Oh,
and
that's right. Yes.
My statement to you, gents, they all had blacked out windows. It was literally the Belfast, Ohio Mafia. Yeah. And I said to you, gents, this is because, this had to have been because we went and took photos in front of the Knights of Pythias, and an old surly lady looked like the old lady from Goonies. She was all butthurt, but no, there was no. we were not disrespectful in any manner to any parties. We walk out. And they're all surrounding there. And I said to you, said, all right, gents, just keep your eyes on the car and let's just don't say nothing. Just get in the car. We'll get out of here. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I've seen
it felt like we had taken a time warp, let's just say like 20 years.
Dude.
And we'd stumbled upon maybe a place that was off the beaten path. I mean, they were nice and everything, but it just had this like eerie feeling about this town.
Well,
in a different kind of eerie feel than I felt in like Somerset or someplace like that. It had a different kind of feel.
Well, I don't disagree, sir. I'm familiar with that environment, if you will. This you're not wanted here environment in Appalachia. I've seen it before. I've probably done it before to some folks, but nonetheless, like I said, keep your eyes on the car, just get right in, because what we were about to see is what I like to call the Appalachian grin. You might have heard that in the song somewhere. If you see that, you're in a place you don't want to be. Meaning those boys would have been happy to do whatever they wanted to us, and then tell folks we never seen them.
They're usually good people, though.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't disagree, but I had a conversation with Landon from the Daily Dissident, a fellow West by God Virginian. We were discussing how much the federal government has tormented and terrorized the citizen folk of West Virginia and testing and
they
other
do their
shit.
Training out there. They do their weird.
They do everything out there. That's where lobotomies were invented, bruh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just gave you a bruh, but that's where lobotomies were invented. They said stab you right in the face, dude.
Well, I mean, I think there's like even like sites out in like the woods of West Virginia, maybe not very far from like Wheeling or the DC area or somewhere around there. I think they even have like these replicas of these, houses where they actually do like, it's almost like they're going to engage in some kind of civil war in the future. It's like really bizarre.
What you're describing is an extension of Colby's Queers. That's the 20th. Yeah. I believe it's the National Guard Special Forces training grounds there. Well, we have to, for West Virginia and the folks at large have to thank that KKK Grand Dragon, Joe Biden's buddy, Robert Byrd, for a lot of those activities in West Virginia.
Oh, Robert Byrd. Yeah. The Reformed Klansman.
Well, if you say so.
I don't know. I'm just saying that's what he fancied himself as.
I'll take your word for it, sir.
I didn't say that. I just want to say I didn't say that.
If you're vouching for the guy, he's good. He's good with me.
No.
He's good with me.
I'm not vouching. No, I'm not vouching for. I said the so-called. No.
Well, it's also the reason why West Virginia is full of those continuity of government operations. In fact, there's a building up in the region you just described of West Virginia, not my part.
Don't put that evil on me. I don't want to be the one defending Robert. Yeah, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I don't want to defend Robert. I don't want to defend Robert Byrd or whatever.
Hey, look, man, we all, sometimes, I understand you're just out there trying to defend Robert Byrd. I understand.
This is Flaming Dragon! Okay, Flaming Dragon. Fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here, but Asia Jack is my territory. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're gonna have to call the fucking United Nations and get a fucking binding resolution to keep me from fucking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker! I will massacre you! I will fuck you up!
It's hard to believe Tom Cruise, who's my favorite actor to play a tall man who knows how to fight, it's hard to believe he didn't win every Academy Award for that performance. Can you hear me? Is this thing on?
I can hear you. Yeah, it's Robert Downey Jr., who's definitely a sus person. It's for another story, though.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, you ain't kidding, sir. So thank you, Dr. Inferno, for joining me here tonight on double sessions of Operation GCD, a double dose of the doctor. Operation GCD Thursdays on Friday and Operation GCD Fridays. And these matters of the connections of the Zizians, those Silicon Valley-based, AI-focused, rationalist, homicidal death cult, vegans, Transpocalypse homicidal death cult, that connect to the Sam Bankman-Fried, They connect to Luigi Mangione, it appears, at least to have some crossovers. Again, rationalist, AI focused, Silicon Valley based.
And Nazi Satanist.
And now Nazi Satanist. So these matters we will convene on in the future, sir. I appreciate these details you bring to my brain hole. You're a man of a lot of details. I appreciate that, sir. And if you don't mind, can you bring us in for a landing on some closing thoughts on tonight's discussion? May or may not be related to Tom Cruise. Your call.
Well, I want to thank you, JJ, for bringing me on. Definitely always a pleasure to come here. And I hope I've covered most of the bases, but there's plenty more to the story. And I encourage people, don't be scared or deterred looking into this, this ordeal. We need more investigators and more unbiased investigators to look into these matters. And not just like fame-seeking glory hounds that like to really point at themselves every time. Oh, I found 764. I found a rabbit hole. No, like people that actually legitimately want to bust these things up and point the fingers at the right culprits, which is potentially military intelligence and the FBI.
Well, first of all, objection, sir. Potentially, you know it is. Come on.
Yeah.
These fuckers on that, dude. It's no, I'm just being facetious. I'm being facetious. Yeah. No, it's that is a repeating pattern of behavior we've identified, and Dave McGowan was right. Dave McGowan was right.
Dave McGowan was right, and R.I.P.
Maury Terry was right. Ed Sanders is still living, but he's also right.
I'm going to have to talk to you about Maury Terry and Ed Sanders. That one needs a little bit more verification. But I know you're just the right man for that. Maybe a future episode.
I'm happy to sort out some details of the known knowns, the unknowns, and Lord of mercy, I bet there's some unknown unknowns out there. But here's the deal, bud. Those men provide evidence. You know who doesn't provide evidence for their claims?
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
They got Ted twice, folks. Check your six, stay vigilant, be aware. So, and speaking of double dose of the doctor, I appreciate your time this evening, sir. I look forward to those future conversations. I'll give you a closing statement. I'll give you a closing statement. And we got a double dose of Operation GCD Sundays tomorrow night, Saturday, Sundays on Saturday, and then Sundays on Sunday. So 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Those are my plugs, sir. What do you got?
I'm going to do the shameless plug.
What are your plugs? What are your statements? Okay. What are your alibis? What are your confessions? Give me a name. Give me a name.
Bad at alibis. I'm too bad at alibis to even create one. I'll just say that. I'm just retarded. I'll just say that.
I would dispute that. I'm going to have an objection there, sir. Once again, you're a man of a lot of details.
Okay. All right.
New details. Dude, as many conversations you and I have had on this, we've had many on these topics. I have new details tonight you brought to my brain hole, so I do respect those things, sir.
Thank you. You're more gracious than a lot of people are. But I want to say also,
did they shoot you with lasers like Ted? If they shot with you lasers like Ted, we're going to need to see some evidence.
They're doing it. They're heart attack gun.
Did you know the CIA invented a camera gun back? I was going. Speaking of the heart attack gun, I was going through them church committee and Rockefeller committee hearings. Go fuck yourself, Nelson Rockefeller. That is. And dude, they invented a camera gun, dude. It was kind of fucking. I was actually kind of impressed. I'm not usually impressed by the Central Intelligence Unintelligence Agency or their activities, or any of the other 16 unintelligence agencies that waste my fucking taxpayer money, bullshitting around, all waging terror amongst themselves, fighting against themselves, just like that fucking book, The Man Who Was Thirsty.
Interesting. Always
fiction replicates reality. Reality replicates fiction, and Michael Aquino's a Muppet.
Yeah, and he also likes writing metafiction with people in it, researchers all in it. And I want to say also that thanks for bringing me on, JJ. Check me out on Twitter under Demento. Check out my future podcast, which has a few episodes, but I have to get on that and stop being lazy at Demento Mori. Look for me on. Hopefully, JJ will have the YouTube linked.
I will have your link in the show notes, sir. I will also have a link to other things that we discussed.
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you, audience. You guys have been the best. You guys have been lit. I love the peanut gallery. I love the audience. Thank you for putting in your 2 cents. And please
I appreciate that, sir. I appreciate you as a guest saluting the audience. I don't think a lot of guests do that here in Operation GCD. I do respect that as well. And let's get a shout out to RR Channel, my favorite AI CIA bot, Bill Colby Ballwasher, a man who wants to justify the slaughter of 32,000 men and women and do so in my chat every week. There's a dedication and nonsense that I don't have, and I do respect there is dedication there, regardless of how off-base they are.
Doc Inferno is my name. That's my name. Not
well, allegedly. Dr. Demento, Dr. Inferno. Let's be honest though. I do the same thing. I always confuse your screen names and everything else like that. I'm like, look, dude, I'm out of it. I'm over here, dude. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I picked like the most like difficult name because I said, I should have picked something like CIA agent or CIA operative or something. More people would remember it. It'd be more catchy, I guess. Totally not a CIA.
You mean like Operation GCD? Or hey, how about you try this one? How about you be named one off from the fucking vice president? How about you be named one off from the vice president? See if that works.
You have better marketing.
Folks think I'm just being a smart. I am being a smart ass when I say I'm not. And again, I'm not the vice president. But I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. Even the AI bots, the machines, maybe not RR, the CIA AI Bill Colby Ballwasher bot, but who lives in my chat. Salute you, your dedication to being wrong, RR. And he has a decent sense of humor. And I'm going to say decent. It's not good, but it's decent. It's present. It's alive. It's there. It could be better. But anyhow, my point there being is, these matters of that you're describing here, sir, they fascinate me. So I'll leave it at that. I was going to go on. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know where I was going with that. What was I saying? I blacked out. You know what? I think I got shot by lasers.
There's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
They got Ted twice, folks. Stay vigilant. Dr. Inferno, any alibis for I forget what I was going to say again? We're going to call it a night here. We're calling it in.
All I got to say is it wasn't me. I was in some a library around a bunch of homeless people.
I wasn't there. Oh, there we go. I'm back here. I sifted through the molten hops and bong resin, circled back to that thought here, landed back at the station. AI thinks I'm fucking the vice president. I say, draw some Operation GCD related fucking pictures. I get nothing but JJ Vance. So this is the world. We live in a world of Muppets, and he might be one of them. He probably is. Let's face it. I don't like to speak ill of my kinfolk, but here's the deal, folks. Let's use our senses. Trust your gut. If whatever are saying, use that as a metric for knowing that whatever they do the opposite. I always say it's great to have someone around that is always wrong, like RR Channel, because that way you always know where you stand in this world. If you're doing the opposite of RR, you're doing something right. And on that note, watch out.
Don't end up like Patty Hearst.
You mean Chris Hardwick's mother-in-law, the guy from that Singled Out show with Jenny McCarthy?
Yeah, exactly.
His mother-in-law. Watch out for them lasers, folks.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, well, check your six. Look in that garbage can, 'cause you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.